Hello, I'm Horace Douty, and I bring a nature lesson each week, but I'm beginning a new series of history lessons of Lexington, Virginia. They'll all be on YouTube, and I encourage you to subscribe to Horace Douty YouTube if you enjoy these presentations. The first story is called Rockbridge Beginnings, County of Rockbridge, Lexington, Virginia. Our part of the Rockbridge story begins with the year 1737. Ephraim McDowell and his family had set up a camp in this wild country near the place we call Rafine, Virginia, just to the east of us. They had journeyed to America a few years earlier and had gradually made their way from Philadelphia into Virginia's Great Valley, where I am today. They were searching for fertile and affordable land. Now, Ephraim was getting old. He was near 90, but he had some strong people with him. His feisty daughter, Mary, was there with her husband, James Greenlee, and Ephraim's son, John, who had married Magdalena Woods, the famous frontier beauty, was there in the camp with his wife and their small children. The group may have contained as many as a dozen Scotch-Irish people, including servants and other family members. The countryside around them was wild but promising, and the family had some knowledge of the area. In 1716, 25 years earlier, Governor Alexander Spotswood and his Knights of the Golden Horseshoe had crossed the Blue Ridge crest and explored part of the valley well north of the McDowell campsite. A number of brave families already lived near what we call Stanton, Virginia, and all of the settlers were a little bit scared because ancient treaties had recognized the Blue Ridge Mountains to the east as the official boundary for Indian territory. To the east was not Indian territory, to the west it was. As a venison dinner was being prepared there in the woods, a man named Benjamin Borden walked into the camp with some astonishing news. He announced that the governor of Virginia had given him 100,000 acres of this new land. There were two provisions. He had to locate the tract, and he must persuade people to live on it. John McDowell, a skilled surveyor, immediately offered to determine the boundaries of Borden's grant. And furthermore, the entire family was willing to settle here and make it their home. So they struck a deal right there by the campfire, and the McDowells became the first landowners in the Borden grant. 1,000 acres was theirs. In the vastness of Virginia's back parts, which is what this area is called, that fortuitous meeting between Borden and McDowell seems miraculous. There are, however, some reasons both parties were on the great path, that trail through the Valley of Virginia. It was a course for buffalo herds and Native Americans. And because of settlement pressures from the east and fur trading pressures from the west, Native Americans had not lived here for some decades and maybe generations, although they had cleared much of the land for biannual burning. The Indians cultivated the northern part of the valley up near Winchester for growing corn or maize, and they kept the southern half in open grassland for the grazing buffalo. When Borden encountered the McDowells, he knew he was very near the edge of his grant. He could tell by the flow of running water, because in the great valley there at Rafine, the waters divide, face north, and all streams run northward into the Shenandoah River that meets the Potomac at Harper's Ferry. Turn around, face south, and all the water flows into the James River. Those settlers did not know it at the moment, but they were standing on topography that in 40 years was the northern county line of Rockbridge, Virginia. Today, most people are surprised to learn that the Rafine village has elevations of more than 2,000 feet above sea level. 15 miles to the east on Afton Mountain on U.S. Route 250, there's a sign that says elevation 1985 feet, which is lower than Rafine. The center of the valley is higher than the Blue Ridge, than parts of the Blue Ridge. In the gap now used by two major highways, Interstate 64 and State 250, John McDowell camped. He camped at that high point of the Great Valley where the waters divide. And after the contract with Borden, the jubilant McDowells selected their 1,000 acres 10 miles south on the Great Path. Around them lay fresh and fertile pasture land. An unburned length of Virginia forest stood before him, from which they harvested logs for their home. They named the majestic forest Timber Ridge. The initial peaceful settlement soon evaporated. 5 years later, the Indians killed John McDowell, and his remains lie today on the Great Path, or U.S. Road 11. Magdalena lived on, and her descendants became soldiers and governors and surgeons and educators. She helped tame a wilderness. With her third husband, the General John Bowyer, Magdalena lived through a revolution that brought to birth the United States of America. And when the new county was formed out of Augusta in 1778, John and Magdalena named it Rockbridge. They had visited the huge stone natural arch standing across a ravine to the south of Lexington, and they knew that that name was fitting. In the entire nation, no other county has the name Rockbridge, and they named the county seat Lexington after the opening battle of the American Revolution in Lexington, Massachusetts. And they built a new brick home at the edge of this new village, and it stands yet, that home, on Thornhill, a historical marker on Route 251 near Lexington, tells the story. There is your history lesson for today.